I'm going to challenge you in 2025 to watch Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood
Yeah.
because my anime list, which is a great website, for all things anime, they put Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood as the number one anime of all time.
For reals?
All right, let's catch up. What have you been watching? What's caught your attention? Have you been to the theaters?
Oh, I saw Wicked.
Okay, and?
I'm probably not the target audience for that. I just am not a musical kind of guy. Like, I just don't
Okay.
love musicals. It was good. I still have complaints about the color grading. Like, why is she singing this song and the background is beige? Like, what's going on with this?
Yeah.
But still, it was a good movie. Pretty great story, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here because I haven't actually seen the stage play or read the book, so it's all kind of surprise for me. Although I've seen The Wizard of Oz, so like I kind of know where it goes from there.
You know the final ending.
Yeah,
Yeah, the color grading is interesting because I have a lot of people who I've mentioned it to who are like, "Oh, it's just what new movies look like." Oh, I
yeah,
guess
and
you're
that's a
kind of
tragedy.
right, but it's bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to look like that. Like, what did I? I
No.
feel like I was just watching something, and I was just like, "Wow, the colors on this." Oh, I was watching The Creator.
Oh yeah.
So I was watching The Creator, like, damn, this movie is colorful and like like colorful in a really grounded sort of way. Let's talk about The Creator. Phenomenal movie. It probably could definitely have used another editing pass in the story and the dialogue and the writing. But as far as the VFX and just the raw movie making, like it was so much fun. And I was just watching it, everything from the lighting, from like explosions to sunsets to whatever to like nighttime shots. It was just like, oh wow, this feels vibrant. This feels like cool versus like Wicked felt flat. Like everything just kind of felt muted and
Yeah.
flat. And that's probably a good like juxtaposition between a movie that has like a really great story versus a movie that has like a story that could use some work, but the medium through which they're telling their story is like couldn't be different, more different.
Yeah, I didn't love Creator when I saw it in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
I probably need to revisit it. There were just some things with story. But you're right. The VFX, the colors, how vibrant it is. It's the same guy who did Rogue One. Same guy who did Rogue One, yeah. Which was also colorful on a beach, daytime, something we
Yeah,
hadn't seen in a lot of Star Wars stuff for a while. So
yeah,
speaks to
yeah.
the life of color.
Yeah, it does. And the VFX in The Creator are amazing.
Yeah.
Like, we live in an era of like rush CG right now where things can kind of look a little janky just because they rushed it so hard. But um, wow, the robots in The Creator look so well done. And I know there's a VFX artist react on Corridor Crew's YouTube channel about The Creator that really goes into depth with like why it looks so good. Yeah, I highly recommend people go check that out.
That's right. The director, Gareth Edwards. What a talent. I think that for me at least, Gareth Edwards should be directing and maybe not writing. Maybe that's more his bag. I think the story could have been a little stronger without his writing credits there. But Ken
Yeah.
Watanabe, I mean, John David Washington, Gemma Chan,
And
Allison Janney.
the kid that they got did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, let's see, Madeline Una Voiles.
I've seen this movie before and I didn't cry the first time, but there's a scene at the end where she has a dialogue moment with John David Washington's character, and I cried. I was like, wow, this little girl is able to
Yeah.
summon such like pathos in her acting. And I don't know if that's just because watching a kid be in distress on screen is just distressing.
Yeah, she's fantastic. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm excited to see what they do next, or you'll see them in a few years after, and you'll just kind of be like, oh, they were that star in this movie I
Yeah.
loved. Gareth Edwards, he's one that I wish we would have seen his cut of Rogue One, which he said
Oh
was
my
much
gosh.
different than what we actually got, which I still like what we actually got. Anyways, would have loved to see what his original cut was, but
Yeah, because I was going to say, I think Rogue One is kind of heralded as the best of Disney's the new era of Star Wars content,
yeah,
and I know he had a hand in Andor too, right?
yeah,
Which I know we're going to talk about, but yeah, Rogue One. just is so much fun. Even though I can tell that there was a lot left on the cutting room floor, and that whatever Edwards had in mind was a little bit different, and there's some like remnants of that in the story that they probably couldn't quite work out all the way in the editing, but still fantastic work.
Fantastic work. I mean, what better segue? Let's talk about Andor.
Yeah.
We're going to get nerdy for a second. I've been playing this new Star Wars card game that's kind of like Magic the Gathering, but Star Wars. My friends got into it. Anyways, it's kind of fun. But because of it, we've been talking about Star Wars more and what's been good and what's been bad, the movies that hit, the movies that didn't, the reasons why, all those things. And with it, all of us have agreed it's just the best thing that's come out in the last 10 years. So I have just started a binge and I'm 8 or 9 episodes deep and it just holds up. It's so good because if you took away the Star Destroyers and Stormtrooper helmets, which we don't see many Stormtroopers, it
Yeah.
just feels like a futuristic espionage rebellion story of oppression and
Right.
empire. And maybe that's why it just does so well. And I kind of feel similarly about Rogue One of you don't get any Jedi, you don't get too much Vader this, Vader that till way later. The parts that you really enjoy are the dirty, gritty espionage story of hope and rebellion and fighting oppression and what that means. Did you like Andor when you first saw it?
I did. I didn't watch it like as it was being released, so it
Yeah.
took me a few months to like really get into it. It was really good. I loved the writing, and there were some scenes where I was like, "Wow, this is really spectacular visual effects."
Yeah.
I loved Stellan Skarsgård.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I loved his character. I loved he's got a speech there at the end where he's like, "I
Oh,
burned my life for a sunset I'll never see." I'm just like, "Holy cow, dude!"
yeah.
That's really great writing. That's really great writing and really great acting. And I think what I love about Andor and Rogue One was that it was a movie about Star Wars that wasn't about the freaking Skywalkers. And you know,
Yep.
as much as I like Star Wars, I'm kind of tired of like hearing about the Skywalker family. I'm ready to hear other stories in the universe that don't have to do with the Skywalkers, which like we have kind of gotten a little bit in like Ahsoka and more so in the Acolyte. Well, the Acolyte got canceled, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that is also another reason why Andor really hit for me was it was like, wow, this is really great storytelling in the Star Wars universe, and it has nothing to do
With
with
the
the
Skywalker.
Skywalkers.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, and this is, I think, one of the pitfalls of some of the new Star Wars or things that they've announced that haven't been taken off, you look at the writers and you need to have someone who's mature enough to recognize what the story should be,
Mm-hmm.
who still enjoying Star Wars, but also just like has cut their teeth in different genres. So Tony Gilroy, who wrote Rogue One and wrote and directed a lot of Andor, his writing credits are fantastic. We have like we have Armageddon from 1998. Okay. You have the full Born Identity trilogy. So
Mm-hmm.
Identity Supremacy Ultimatum. Michael Clayton with George Clooney. You ever seen that one?
No.
Political thriller? Okay, fantastic. You have Duplicity. You have State of Play, another great movie. He did Beirut a couple years ago. So he knows spy, Bourne movies, and he goes, I'm going to do Star Wars as a Bourne movie. And it's fantastic. And I think that sometimes they've been picking the wrong people or it just comes off wrong with some of these new stories. Newer writers or people who are on Acolyte who maybe, some of the episodes felt disjointed. I don't know. You need to have someone who's able to string the story together and say, here's what we're trying to say, and I'm not going to rush and I'm not going to drag. And I feel like Andor can feel at moments like it's dragging unless you have the patience to be like, let this man cook. It's going to be about politics for a second. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about missing pieces from spaceships across the galaxy. Oh, to set up the fact that the Imperials are finally recognizing that a rebellion's forming, or what are they going to do about it? So,
Yeah.
great show, great cast. I'm excited for season 2, even knowing, and I think that's the weird part. A lot of people shit on prequels, but even knowing that Cassian Andor will die at some point doesn't make this any worse of a show. It's good storytelling. You could do much worse with Star Wars, like they have.
How does it stack up to get? I see you've been watching the Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, I turned on Andor and then I was like, let me just watch the new thing too, so I don't put that off. It's Goonies in space. You know what?
Right.
Made for kids. As an adult, you're kind of like, okay, this is the kid part of Star Wars. It's all for kids, if you want to say that. But really, this is the kid part of Star Wars. It's fun. Blue Elephant. There may be a connection to Captain EO, which is the Michael Jackson space thing they used to do at Disneyland years and years and years ago. Lots of weird things, but Jude Law is fun. And some people are saying Stranger Things. I think it's more Goonies. It seems to be a bit more childish,
Hmm.
but it's fun. It's great VFX, campy, some good action. Not a bad watch if you just don't care or if you have young kids or whatever else. It's fun Star Wars for kids.
Oh, cool, cool. I'll have to check it out.
What else have you been watching?
Have we talked about Full Metal Alchemist yet?
I don't think we have, but it's been
Oh,
brought
dude.
up multiple times to me at work recently because I'm developing a project that has some similarities. So
Oh, really?
talk to
Yeah.
me.
So Full Metal Alchemist is probably one of the best animes ever made. And there's two different versions of it. There's the 2003 version, which they were making in concurrence with the manga, and so like anime often does, that's being made at the same time the manga is being published. The anime got ahead of the manga, and they had to come up with their own kind of original ending to the story because the manga hadn't finished yet. And then there's the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which came out probably, I don't know, maybe a decade later. I haven't actually watched Brotherhood. I know that everyone loves Brotherhood and thinks that it's better than the 2003 anime. Uh, I have an opinion, and it is couched
Boy,
within the reality that I have not seen. I've not seen Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Um, I love the 2003 anime. It is it is morally complex in all of the ways that I like a story to be, where it's like the bad guys have motives that you understand. Their motives are very human, and they're not necessarily like they're evil, but they're not like evil incarnate. You know what I mean? Like they're not just like,
yeah,
I'm going to do this because I'm a bad guy and I want to see people suffer. It's like, no, they just are kind of like narcissists, and um, they're just making choices and that are like really human choices, but they happen to have consequences that they just don't really care about. Um, yeah, so Full Metal Alchemist, I grew up like this was one of my introductions to anime, like when I was growing up. So I might have been, I don't know, what was I, 14 or 15 when I finally watched all of this.
yeah.
And watching through it again with adult eyes, I'm like, holy cow, I watched this as a teenager. This is like so morally complex and like gruesome. Because I don't know how much you know about Full Metal Alchemist, but it's this idea where it's almost like an alternate history of Earth, where instead of like chemistry and rocketry and like science taking off, it was alchemy. And the alchemy was like kind of a semi magical system where to call it magic is kind of to betray what alchemy is, because in the show they approach it very much like it's a science. Like you need to understand what a substance is, be able to break it down to its constituent parts before you can remake it into something else.
Yeah.
um, and the whole story revolves around these two brothers who attempted a feat of alchemy, and ultimately failed at their attempted alchemy. And the whole story revolves around this idea of the law of equivalent exchange, which is kind of the heart of the magic system, which is in order to get something, you have to put in something of equal value. And so the brothers try and do a feat of alchemy that is, they're children at the time of doing this, and so they don't understand the scale of the exchange that is required. And one of the brothers loses his body, and the other brother loses two of his limbs in the process. Um, and I'm just watching this with my adult eyes. I'm like, wow, this is bloody. This is like almost grotesque and gruesome. And then you also get, as the story goes on, the older brother becomes essentially what was called a state alchemist, but essentially like a soldier in his pursuit of power and knowledge, in a way to he's hoping to find the philosopher's stone, which is this mythical substance that is able to like bypass the laws of equivalent exchange in alchemy, so that they can get their bodies back. That's kind of
Yeah.
the heart of the story. And so he becomes essentially a soldier so that he can gain access to research and military budgets and stuff, so that he can like, um, do this for him and his brother. But he all of a sudden realized that he's complicit in all of the the evils of the military that he's all of a sudden a part of, and that he becomes a dog of the military. And it's really a really I watched a video once that said that Japan's relationship to World War II in media is often depicted with purely just like the nuclear bomb event. You know, you can see that in Godzilla. You can see that in a lot of anime. That it's just kind of it was the explosion of the nuclear weapons is the aspect that they're dealing with. But the Fullmetal Alchemist might be the first time where they're actually where Japanese filmmakers or writers and creators are wrestling with their role in World War II before that, which was a
Ooh.
lot of people got caught up into a system of saying yes because they were in a system of power, and they had to they had to enact violence and tragedy on other people because the machine that they were a part of um, required them to do so. And Full Metal Alchemist is a phenomenal and really grown up wrestling with our complicitness in structures of power.
So, not a quick and easy watch for someone wanting just really chill television one morning, but worth
Oh
every
no.
minute of it.
Oh, worth every minute of it. Absolutely. It is not like Naruto. I don't. I think Naruto got more mature later on. I should say it's not like a Pokemon or a Digimon where it's just kind of like fun little popcorn anime. This is like really grown up, and I can see in it how it impacted me as I was growing up as a teenager, because there's a lot of like kind of anti-authority stuff that happens later in the season, and I'm like, oh, so maybe that's why I am the way that I am. I highly recommend watching it.
Okay, so I'm seeing that you can maybe rent it from Apple TV Plus. I'm going to give a totally different recommendation though. Go to your local library and rent it on
Oh,
DVD.
yeah, no,
I
you can do
bet
that.
there's a way to do that. Or if not, we're not advocating anything, but it does exist elsewhere. Dot dot dot.
Drink up, me hearties, yo ho.
I'm going to challenge you in 2025 to watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood
Yeah.
because my anime list, which is a great website, for all things anime, I used it a lot with work, just trying to like figure out what people think about shows or different character names or synopsis and stuff. They put Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood as the number one anime of all time.
For reals?
Yeah. It's their ranked top anime of all time by their weighted score and whatever else. And it held it for 13, 14 years. I think it might have been dethroned by Attack on Titan or something recently
Yeah.
to some online chatter and debate. Anyways,
Yeah, my goal
it's that
was
good.
is to watch Brotherhood next year. I
Yeah.
just before I watched Brotherhood, I wanted to rewatch the 2003 just because I have such a connection to it. Like,
Yeah.
growing up, this was one of my first forays into like just one of my like it was kind of like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where it was a story that really captured my attention, and I just watched and rewatched and watched and rewatched it over and over and over again. And so it just kind of like was a fixation for me as a teenager. And I really wanted to watch the 2003 before I went back and watched Brotherhood. And I will give Brotherhood a fair shake. And if it's better, I will be so honest and say that it's better. But if it's not, I
You will also
will
be
say that
honest.
the 2000, I will also be honest and say that the 2003 was better. We'll see.
All right. I'm willing to see what happens. Full Metal Alchemist. I will have it linked in the show notes as far as we can show you if there's a way to stream it or otherwise. We'll do a little research. Let me wrap up our call today with talking about the Day of the Jackal. Have you heard of the show? Do you know about the show?
I've heard about it. I haven't like seen a trailer or anything. I know Eddie Redmayne's in it.
Yes. In fact, we might have mentioned it last week briefly. I have watched a handful more episodes. It's fantastic. It's already been nominated for a handful of awards, which is just kind of funny. Like it's been nominated for both the Golden Globes for Best TV Series Drama and Eddie Redmayne for Best Male Actor in a TV Drama. It's
Oh,
been
wow.
nominated by Critics' Choice Awards as Best Drama and Eddie Redmayne again for Best Actor in a Drama. It's good. It's really good.
Wow.
I think I'm
What's it
about five
about?
or six episodes in. So, backstory. It's a remake of a movie that was made in like the 90s with Bruce Willis. That's a remake of a movie that was made in the 70s. That's a adaptation from a book written in the early 70s.
Okay, cool.
So, this guy is a contract killer, and he goes by the Jackal, is what he tells one of his clients. I'm going to be the Jackal. So, he does a contract killing, gets mixed up with some payment stuff, and goes back to kill another person. Someone else hires him, and at least in this modern version, a lot of it's like tech CEOs or politicians and people that could like block these things. So, as he's doing this, agents at MI6 are starting to pick up all the breadcrumbs along the trail. And so what you have is these two unstoppable forces in Lashana Lynch, who played Maria Rambeau, and she's just fantastic as his MI agent. Then you have Eddie Redmayne on the other side, and these two are unknowingly careening towards each other, and we just know at some point in the season it's going to be a big clash. So it's well shot. There are some moments of just like the drabbest of colors where I'm like, did anyone color grade this entire scene? It just looks like a nice big filter of dust has been put over the screen. Terrible. Terrible, terrible. But past that, it's really good. It's on Peacock, but it's not really a Peacock original in my mind. It's a Carnival Films Now TV UK production with Sky Studios and Peacock. So it's probably just my own misunderstanding. I know NBC probably has a bit of Sky Studios, whatever. Anyways, it's a UK style show that has also been punched up enough for American audiences to enjoy as far as pacing and timing and everything else. It's hour-long episodes, but it's good. It's good. It's not too rushed. It has slow beats. It gets into some nitty gritty with the characters. Eddie Redmayne is great. I know last time I was like, his pursed lips, is he really a killer? No, he shut me up. Each episode, you're like, damn, he's good. He's really good.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's good to
So
know.
yeah, this is one to give a watch. It's not just because of the awards, but the awards shows it's like, oh, it's reaching wider appeal than just small artsy folks or like the handful of the 2 million people who have a Peacock subscription. Anyways,
Yeah,
Day of the Jackal, give it a watch. I'll hope to finish it by next week.
cool.
Let's wrap it up there. And for everyone else listening, hope you continue to watch good movies and TV. We'll have another episode out next week. Hope you all have a nice holiday for those who celebrate an end of the year.
Awesome.